And the issue of access versus property, access will be so much more, it'll be so much better for society because we won't have all the waste. Can you describe the comparison of access versus property?
Well, property is a way of, where does a person get the property from? They take it from somebody else.
Right.
The day they purchase it. But in the old days, we took this land from the Indians, from the Spaniards, from the Mexicans. After we stole all the land we need, this is not just true of America. Every country that's become a country took land away from little settlers. Even the great travelers across our country in the early days, the pioneers, some that were stronger than others took their property away from them. It's this person says, how much do you want for your property? And the person says, well, my grandfather and his grandfather lived there for years. Well, where'd they get it? Well, they fought for it. The guy said, well, I'll fight you for it. You see, the whole idea of Britain, they say the sun never sets on England. Where do you think they got all that property from? You think it was donated? It was taken by force and violence. Of course, later on, they've given up some of that property. But that goes for all countries. They are all basically corrupt, is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to pick on just the good old United States. They're all basically corrupt. As long as there's a money system, as long as there can be payoffs, as long as there's gambling, as long as there's war and poverty and hunger, we are not civilized. As long as there's police and prisons, we are not civilized. We will eventually become civilized if we realize that the earth and all the nations must join and work together towards common heritage, so that when few nations control most of the earth's resources, you're going to have problems. I don't care how many laws you make or how many treaties you sign. If other nations do not have access to the necessities of life, you're going to have trouble.
Definitely, definitely. And I always thought it was interesting in the early days, you couldn't even vote if you didn't own property. I thought that was an amazing reinforcement.
That's great. But another interesting thing about uniformity that people are afraid of, you look at people wearing eyeglasses, they're mostly very uniform. They all look alike. All the eyeglasses. You don't have thousands of varieties of eyeglasses. All you need is a lens to correct your vision. There's nothing the matter with lenses as long as they do the job. Cameras all look alike, and the best cameras are expensively alike. And they have telephoto lenses. You can do things up close. Not only that, some television sets, some of the pocket unit calculators are now cameras and calculators, and they do many things. And in the future, you'll probably wear a little ring that'll do all the things that the laptop does today.
Yes.
So things are getting smaller and more efficient. If we are smart enough to make it to the future, in other words, the greed perpetuated in the monetary system may make it difficult to get to the future in a smooth way. There'll be a lot of trouble during the transition from the old monetary system to a resource-based economy. I do expect trouble. I cannot see a smooth transition because the public, most of the public all over the world, is not well educated. They're not informed on how to relate to other people, how to share ideas and get along. Nationalism, egotism, all those things have to be outgrown. In other words, once you learn to work together, you'll find that it will enhance the lives of all people. The competitive spirit is really not good for people.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think there's a reason why when people get together to talk about ideas, they usually do so in groups because they know that one mind is not as good as multiple minds working together. So I think that in and of itself is proof that people working together is always more beneficial than one single person competing or one set of people.
That's what religion started out to do, is to get people to care for one another and work together. That if they believe that all creation is for all people, not some people. And here we train people to become killing machines, to bomb cities and to look at war as as a great national enterprise which keeps our system going. That's a lie. War is a failure to bridge the difference between nations. I think that we, instead of having soldiers as killing machines, we should train them as problem solvers. We'd send all the soldiers back to school to learn how to solve problems and work out the problems rather than use force or violence. That's a very primitive way of attempting to solve problems. It never solved any problems. War is the supreme failure of nations to bridge the difference in their values.
Absolutely.